rolling. Good afternoon, Kara.
Hi, how are you?
You hear my funny radio voice.
Sounds like your regular voice.
Alright, so I met you casting, and I had some extra work to do because you couldn't find any Trinidadian accent guys to play it. So I helped you read, and I learned so much watching other actors come in. And you were amazing enough to come on the podcast and share your knowledge and share your wisdom. So thank you.
You're so welcome, my pleasure. I always like to try to impart my wisdom to actors so they, do better in the room. And I think for a lot of actors, casting can be a little bit of a mystery when you're not on the other side of the desk.
All right, so in a nutshell, what is your job?
So I would tell you, because people ask me this all the time who don't know. A casting director's job is essentially to find the talent for whatever project you're doing, whether it's commercials, webisodes, features, shorts, whatever you're doing. But your job is not just to find the talent. I feel like it's to find the best, is to present. So let's start from the beginning. Basically what happens with a casting director is that we get approached by a producer, a director, a production company. It just depends on who comes to you first. They tell you, this is the project I'm doing, these are my needs. And most of it, I would say they come to us because the little things that we have to do, like posting on LA Casting, breakdowns or casting Frontier, and then going through all the headshots and whittling it down to the best 40 people, or contacting the people that you want to come in, because I've been doing this now since 2003. So I have at this point, I don't just depend on the sites. I also call people I know. They don't want to do all that. So they leave it, that's why they hire a casting director, because then we, in turn, through whatever resources we use, then present them with the best options for each role. So that way, when it's time to do callbacks, they're just gonna call in their, top 3 to 4 people. Sometimes with features, it tends to be 5 to 6.
Mm-hmm.
It depends. And sometimes with features too, they do more than one callback depending on the size of the feature. But I would say if somebody asked me in a nutshell, it's my job to find the best talent for the project via the resources that I have.
Right, and I feel like you just gave so much information to the world that so many people who don't audition or just get into acting, I feel like that gives you, the more knowledge that you have, the more calm you get.
Yeah.
So on that note of being calm, when an actor comes in, so now knowing your job, when an actor comes in, what advice you give an actor to be more calm?
I think I don't know, I feel like you kind of have to go in there I think what'll help you is if you prepare. You know what I mean? You spend more than an hour, spend a couple of days getting ready, unless sometimes you can't because you don't get the auditions until 6 o'clock at night.
Mm-hmm.
Or I know people sometimes, because it's so last minute, they have to send it out at 11 o'clock, 12, because TV shows sometimes is very last minute casting. I think the best thing I'd say would keep you calm is just to make sure you're fully prepared. Do your homework. Go through the steps of preparing the character. I always tell people, maybe you'll be calmer if you don't just sit there and memorize the lines. And, even sometimes you don't have to be off book. It's fine to bring in a paper, but I think what'll make you calm is if you clearly understand the scene and the situation, and you're familiar with it, and you do the where am I? What are my what is my goal in this scene? There's always something you're trying to do or trying to get, if it's theatrical, right? And I think the more prepared you are, the calmer you'll be. And I think, you just have to know that you're not going to get everything you audition for. And I think you have to go in there just with a good attitude of I'm going to do my best, and that will keep you calm. I think when people put so much pressure on themselves, it just makes you guys really, really nervous.
Right.
And I think that'll help. And with commercials, because a lot of times there's no lines. What'll keep you calm there is that, with the improv, if it's improv, you just do the best you can,
Right.
and commercials sometimes, they come down to a look once in a while, if they're not, theatrical and all that.
Yeah. And that's another element too, is sometimes it might just come down to a look. So I've realized, and I've stopped putting pressure on myself as an actor. I mentioned this before in the podcast, like over a year now, that I know that the right role will be for me.
Yeah.
And I can't put that pressure on. But a lot of people think that when they step into the room with the casting director, that you have like a big staff and a sword, and you're like about to crucify them, But it is your job to work with the actor as well.
Yeah, my job is to work with the actor. My job is to make sure that you put your best foot forward. And I think you have a good attitude of you're not gonna book everything. The thing is, once you make everything a pressure situation, it takes the joy out of acting. And I think
True.
you need to have that joy when you come in, and we are not there to make your life hard or crucify you. For me, I'm a casting director that will work with you and likes to give you direction, especially with my theatrical stuff. Like you saw, I gave you really detailed direction, made sure you put your best foot forward. No, we're there to work with you and make it a good experience. And look, if you go into a casting director's office where you feel like they're being rushed and it's just in and out, don't take it personally. Sometimes when it's one-liners or stuff like that for TV or sometimes for commercials, we go a little bit faster, because with commercials, just so you guys know, we have to see a lot. Sometimes we do need to see a lot of people. I've seen 80 people in a day.
Wow.
Because with commercials, they don't give us a lot of time to do casting sometimes. You only have 2 or 3 days. So with commercials, don't take it personally if they don't spend a lot of time with you. You know what I mean?
So what would be day in the life at Kara Sullivan office? An email comes in and say, hey, we're casting for this role, break down XYZ on Monday. When would you, what would they say they need the first rounds by?
I would tell you, they usually give me for commercials, I'll get the specs maybe on a Monday, and then I usually do casting sessions 2 days later. Because I've been mostly doing, I would say my features have been independent and all that. I would say for me, I usually will get things on a Monday, and then I'll sit and meet with the director and we'll really talk about the characters so I can get into detail, and it helps me give you guys better direction.
Right.
Because the way that I do my breakdowns with the character descriptions,
Yeah.
I give you guys enough to make some decisions, and enough so you know what's going on between the storyline and between the character description and the storyline. I give you enough to make decisions, especially if you don't get the script, because I want to see what you guys are going to do.
Yeah.
So for me, I'll meet with the director, really break down the character, and kind of put some stuff in there in general, just that we talk about, but doesn't make the breakdown, because I want to see what you guys do.
Okay.
Maybe you think of something different. I would say with those, I usually start in a week or a week, and then generally with theatrical auditions, you guys, my policy is I do let you know about your audition 48 hours ahead of time, so it'll give you a full at least day and a half.
Right.
Because I find your schedules are always changing, and I feel like if I do before, sometimes you guys are like, oh, I don't know if I can do that, but at least a day and a half ahead of time, you'll know I can make that day or I can't.
Right.
With commercials, sometimes you don't get the notice until the day before.
Right. And then you just send it out.
Yeah.
Put it out there. Okay.
Yeah.
So what do the top in you probably have some of the top bookers or the top people who've done really well for you in your mind. What do you think sets them apart? So I'll list those as grade A's.
Okay.
Then you have grade B's, or people who do pretty well, but they just don't snap it. And then grade C's are people who might be nervous, they have talent, but they don't get to the grade B. What separates a grade A from a grade B actor?
Well, I have to start out by saying sometimes it's not about the acting. Sometimes it's just you're not the right fit for that particular role. Because
Alright, cool.
I have a lot of talented actors in my roster that are A actors, but like they're just not the right fit for that role. It just the personality traits aren't there. It's like, oh, this is maybe heavier comedy, a little bit more silly, but I love this actor, but he's better with more serious stuff, you know what I mean? It's that kind of thing. Sometimes you're just not like right for this role. Like, you know, there's good example is an actress I love. She's great, but we weren't sure if she was too young. You know, if it would make sense. If people would watch and be like, well, it feels like he's with somebody, he's like 30 and it feels like he's with somebody who's like 18. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's that. I would say to you, for me, and then if we're not talking about that, I would say for me in general is just connecting to having a connection to the character and to the piece, no matter how much material I give you, because you're not always going to get the script, and sometimes you're just going to get that character description and what's in the breakdown. And sometimes the breakdown, like my breakdowns, with my more independent stuff, I include a director's statement and a bio. But with, you know, bigger projects, they don't want to do that. So I just give you kind of the character description and the synopsis. So it's like you have to, everything that you have, take it into account. And if you can't get the script, a trick that somebody else did that I never thought about a couple years ago was they pulled all of the sides that I posted.
Okay.
For all of the characters. That's something
Oh,
interesting to do,
makes sense.
because if you can't get the whole script, then you can kind of piece it together. But I would say connection to the character, bringing some of yourself into there. We want to see like what your natural gift is and like what your instincts tell you to do. And I think just doing the prep work of like breaking it down, the who, what, where, imagine every little part of the situation. And I think also just realizing like what's happening before the scene starts and what's happening after. Because if somebody's walking in and slamming a door, are you just gonna stand there when I say action? Or are you gonna jump? You know, if I'm doing something now where the lead character doesn't have a line, it's a small scene and there's no line for them after.
Right.
Well, should you just sit in the silence? Yes. That's what I want you to do. You gotta kind of read the situation, I feel like, as far as the before and after. A B actor, I don't know, maybe an A actor will take my direction, even if it sounds like it's not gonna work. I mean, I've had somebody literally tell me, a situation a couple years ago, the story was the daughter was in jail in like a foreign country. Being accused of being a bomber. And the direction was, I need you to be more sad. And he said, I don't emote just to emote. And like that was the end of it. But sometimes even if my direction sounds crazy, be open to taking it. I might take you in a direction that's complete opposite of what you think is gonna go on, and part of it is because I'm testing your range.
Right.
I think a B actor just isn't as prepared as I'm talking about. Maybe it doesn't take as much time to really break it down. And I think also with an A actor, if you feel like, this is what I say, if you feel like you are not prepared that day in any way, shape, or form to come in, and you just got the sides 5 minutes ago because things happen, I feel like always email the casting director. Ask if you can come in another day.
Oh, okay.
We want you to do your best. And sometimes I've had people come and I say, I don't know if you're as prepared, and I'm gonna offer you the chance to maybe come in another day. So I feel like maybe A/B actors, there's little differences. Maybe it's just in the preparation, you know what I mean? Just being open about the direction and all that. I think a C actor, for me, just has no connection to the character. Didn't really take that, like maybe only took 30 minutes to prepare the sides. Didn't really look at, see, an A and B actor, I feel like will look at the whole breakdown.
Right.
you should read everything that's there. I understand my breakdowns may be long sometimes if we have bios and all this other stuff.
I love that though.
Right, but you should read it. It's there for a reason.
I love that. I love long breakdowns.
I think C actor maybe just like isn't as prepared. You know, if you know you can't read your sides off of your phone because sometimes as casting directors we don't have the paper, even though we always should.
Yeah.
You're a person that needs to print your sides. You can't depend on the CD to have the sides all the time because sometimes they don't. So, you know, if you can do it off your phone and look like a pro, then cool.
Right.
And I would just say, you know, an A actor isn't attached to the paper. You know what I mean? You're able to look up and be present with the scene and be able to talk to your reader
That's so important.
You're familiar, you know what I mean? You're familiar with the scenes where maybe you need to look down for your cue once in a while. But yeah, I think, you know, I would say it's little differences between the A and B. You know, it's tiny little things.
But I feel like that's a big difference you just said because I've seen myself at the start feel like I need to know the lines. I just must memorize the lines. Mm-hmm. Then I've seen me evolve to the point where I just need to be connected to what's going on right now and feel comfortable. I feel most times, and this is the voice of the actor, and I hope I don't speak for all actors, but I feel like at some stage in our lives and in the start of our careers, we feel that we don't know what they are looking for, and I feel we take on so much pressure to say, okay, well, I must say these words the exact same way, and not realize that part of our characters and who we are as individuals, as Darius is, and you know, and who the character Kara is playing is that maybe they just want to see that individuality, and if the role is for you, it's for you. So, if the role is for you, it's for you.
I think, I mean, that's the thing. If the role is for you, it's for you. And I would say if you change an and or an or, I think that's fine. If you feel like you're going to change more or add more stuff on the end, always ask first, because the writer or the director may not be in the room for first calls, but I've had some directors say, I want them to stick to the lines.
Okay.
So I would say always ask if you're going to change bigger things.
Right.
But and, ors, if, buts, I feel like that's not.
So the directors tell you that first, like
they
oh,
do.
you have
They
to
will.
Okay, so
they will. I've had that before. So
most actors should ask.
You should ask.
Okay.
If you're gonna change big things, like if you're gonna add like a sentence onto the end, or if you feel like you want to improv a little bit more, I would ask first. In most cases, it'll be fine. But there's some people who are very kind of particular about their words.
Casting for your school, like you make the room very comfortable when you come in. So if you ever do a casting audition for Kara, just know that I feel like it's a comfortable space where you could ask questions. And I've been in some rooms where I was nervous as hell, and it had to do with how big the shows I've went out for were. I feel like that's another pressure. Sometimes I went in recently the Disney lot for a couple of big TV shows, and I went back to the same casting office twice, and both times, like, they started off, I was prepared, but they started off, and I didn't command control as I would do in other places where I'm more familiar, but I said, when I go back for the third time, I know I'll be more controlled, and I guess the weight of the project also, as human beings, you know, like in the back of our minds, we always like picture stuff. So, you have any advice for if I was to go in for the first time for a big Fox show or something like that? If I was going in for the first time in a big studio, what advice you would give to an actor who just got a breakthrough for a big casting and he get called in? What would you say to that actor? And it might even be a co-star role.
Yeah.
But what advice you would give?
I would tell you, you've been preparing for this all of your career.
Oh my God, I just sound like so much pressure. Now you sound like more pressure.
I know. I feel like it's going to happen eventually, and you have to think of it as it's another casting session.
Okay.
As long as you, I feel like some of what we're looking for as casting directors is like, how's your personality? And sometimes even with commercials, that's a big part of it. It's like, sometimes with commercials, we only ask questions because we want to know how your personality is. But
Okay.
I think go in there with a good attitude, smile on your face, no matter how your day is. That's all I always tell people, no matter what casting office you're going into, even if you're having a bad day, you have to just slough it off once you get in there. And I understand sometimes when roles are really serious, people come in super serious, and I get that. But after that's done, loosen up. I would say to take the pressure off, think of it this way. It's another casting office. They're not out to get you. They're out to make it easy. And if it doesn't work out this time, you now are in the radar of this casting director, because casting directors remember who they like, and they'll continue to call you back. So if it's not going to work out for this role, they know you now, And I think that'll take the pressure off. I think a lot of people think of it as, oh my God, this is it. I'm never going to get called back again.
Right.
Don't think of it that way. Think of it as, this is your introduction to this casting director. So if it doesn't work out this time, then maybe it'll work out next time. You're not always going to be right for every role. And when you're auditioning for studio projects and TV shows, I think this tidbit of information will take the pressure off for you guys. The casting director doesn't really have any say. It goes straight to the producers and stuff like that. If you come in with a bad attitude, then she's gonna say something and warn. But if you guys come in with a good attitude, happy to be there, do your best, show that you have range, even if it's look, sometimes with co-stars you come in and it's hi, how are you? You want a cup of coffee? Do your best, rock that out. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because everybody had to start somewhere, and I can guarantee you a lot of the guys that are series regulars on these shows and stuff right now, that's how they got there. They went in probably for a co-star,
Said, hey, do you want a cup of coffee?
Yeah, and now they're a series regular on, TV shows. You just have to, that will take the pressure off. I think you have to pat yourself on the back for getting the audition. They have to go through so many headshots. You have to remember that you were one of the 40 people chosen to audition for this role out of I'm sure what was a couple thousand headshots for this.
Wow.
So I think that will right there take the pressure off. That you got your foot in the door.
Pat yourself on the back.
Yeah, and then you'll be fine. I think you just gotta go in and treat it like any other audition. And
I'll put a piece of advice in my back pocket and take it with me. Piggybacking off of that, how could I guess agents send stuff out, but if I was self-submitting to you and for a project, how could I make my headshot or my profile stand out to you a little better on Breakdown, or I would say Actors Access maybe.
Okay, and Breakdown Express is for agents and managers, but
if I was self-submitting.
Yeah. So I would say to you, my big thing is I want you guys to look like you.
Okay.
The headshot that I think on Actors Access, you can choose what the cover headshot is.
Right, you could.
So the thing with me is, in order for me to make it easier for me to kind of whittle things down, the first thing I base my decision on is it's the first headshot I see. Okay, so for me it's do you look like the part? So I would tell you, read the character description and make sure you choose the right cover photo. I don't like a lot of retouching. You guys need to look like you. That's a big pet peeve.
Not a lot of retouching. I heard
No,
that before.
No. Not a lot of retouching. You should look like you. That's it. Whoever's gonna walk in the door is what should be on the headshot. And then you have to keep in mind, after I see that headshot, then I'm gonna go in there and I'm gonna look at your other headshots to make sure that what I'm seeing, your other headshots, you look like the same person. You know what I mean? So if you have things that are black and white that are from like 10 years ago and you've gained 10 pounds or you don't look remotely like the same person, take those off. Everything should be kind of uniform in terms of your face and your look.
All right, cool.
And then I think I would tell people, if you're gonna put up reel, make sure the reel looks really professional and great. If you do like a self-tape reel, make sure it looks top notch, because I've seen some reels that are not good. And if you are gonna put up a reel where it's a 2-person scene and we see you for all of 3 seconds, that's not something that should be up there. Because a lot of people like to put up things from plays and musical theater, and what I find is they put up these tapes and like they look like a little blob and you can't see anything and the sound is off because somebody's recording from their phone.
Okay.
So make sure that your reels look great and focus, and you choose scenes that like focus on you so I can see your range and your face. And if it's a 2-person scene, that's fine, but I want to be able to see you, you know?
Okay.
And so I think you have to think about all that with your presentation. But the most important thing is that first shot, read the description, see what I'm looking for, and, you know, put a shot that kind of represents that. You know, and then
Slate shot.
A slate shot? Yeah, I like slate shots actually. I think those are great because then I can see you guys.
So what's the order then? All right, so headshot, obviously it can't be anything like too crazy.
Unless I'm asking. I mean, look, in some cases I'm like, I want people with unique hair, then
all right.
that should be,
so,
you know.
So you look at the initial one, and does the reel weigh into the fact that if you choose that person, and how much does that reel weigh into it?
I would tell you it depends on what I am working on.
All right.
Sometimes I'm working on stuff where it depends on the role. Sometimes I'm a little bit more forgiving if it's a smaller supporting and somebody only has doesn't have a lot. The reel's okay, but I would tell you if it's like a lead, then if I'm looking at reel, then it's gonna weigh heavily into my decision.
Yeah.
And sometimes people don't have reels, so if they don't have that, you know, it's about your resume. And again, it kind of depends on what I'm looking for. So if I'm looking for a lead actor, I would say I want somebody to have a good amount of on-camera experience, a couple of lead roles in there.
Yeah.
You know, theater is always good. The training, some training's nice, but that, you know, I don't think that heavily weighs into my decision. And then I would say, because I do so many different varieties of films, sometimes with the, you know, stuff for the schools where it's coffee credit meals and all that, I'm a little bit more forgiving because I believe that, like, when I started, in order for me to build up my resume, I had to start working on stuff for free. That's the only way you're going to be able to do it. And so I feel like with student films, for me, I tend to be a little bit more forgiving. Like, if you don't have any on-camera experience, but I see you have some theater, some training, and maybe I'll consider you for like one of the supporting roles. I think I want you to have a little bit of something for the student projects if you're on-camera experience for the leads.
Okay.
But I feel like it's weird, and this doesn't really answer your
No,
question.
it does help.
Every project kind of, it depends on the degree of the project. But if you're going to be a lead in anything that I'm casting, I definitely want you to have some
experience on camera.
Yeah, for sure.
That makes sense because it takes a lot of responsibility to be a lead, and if you're doing a big feature film and you have all these pages, I mean, you know, and even be able to take direction as well. A lead is a lot of responsibility. It sounds good because it's only 4 letters, lead, L-E-A-D, but
you carry the film.
You carry the film, and one of my friends, and she was on the podcast, she was telling me she did The Nightingale, which is shot in Australia. It was like amazing. I saw it was amazing indie, and she was on there for 51 days.
Yeah.
She had to work 51 days. So That's a lot of responsibility, and as the casting director, I bet you want to see the best and you want to be represented the best.
Yeah, and my directors want to see the best, you know what I mean? I have a responsibility to my directors and producers to present them with the best, and so I think you have to kind of, when you're picking actors, it's like you have to take the details of the project into consideration. Like I have directors who I had a director for one feature who didn't want anybody that wasn't through an agent or manager.
Oh, wow.
Okay, well, there was nothing I could do about that, and they had to have good credits.
Okay.
You know, like sometimes with my indies, it's just like, okay, I'm willing to give somebody a chance on one of my smaller supportings, but I definitely need somebody who can carry the film, so you gotta have, you know, some decent credits. When I'm doing my web series stuff, you know, with those, I think some TV experience is good. You know, some co-stars, some reoccurrings. And I have to say, with my movies, if you mostly have TV experience, like it's mostly reoccurrings and all that, and not a lot of like movies, I actually am willing to like give you a chance, because I feel like that for me is on camera experience. And you know, doing TV is hard. They're fast paced. Sometimes you get scenes at the last minute. You know, I've heard people tell me, oh yeah, we got off at 6 o'clock, and then at 12 they like gave us a new scene, you know.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. And anything, if I was coming in for an audition, and is there a difference between how I would audition for a short film compared to a feature film compared to a TV series maybe?
No, for me, I don't think so. Sometimes with the TV series though, they do give you like more. I find they give you guys more sides, whereas when I do my features and my shorts, I try to stick to a total of 5 pages.
Okay.
But I think it's all the same in terms of how you prepare your audition. The difference is with TV shows, like you guys know what the show is. You've watched it.
True.
So I think it's easy to just go in. I think it's easy to just get the sides and memorize them and not do the who, what, where scenario that I'm talking about. You still should do it. And you should really break down the character and decide who is this person? What is their goals? What are they after? Even if it's just a waitress saying, hi, how are you? So, what does she want to do? Does she want to make the customer happy? Has she been working there for like 25 years? You know, you are not going to know in TV what the episode is about because they're not going to give that to you.
Right.
But I think based on the scene, you should just make a scenario for yourself. Like, why are you saying, hi, how are you on the street? To who? Yeah, I think with film, you probably get a little bit more information, and that is the difference. TV, I feel like sometimes they give you bare bones, and it's up
Correct.
to you to figure it out.
Yeah.
Because if you guys do the who, what, and where, it'll make memorizing your lines so much easier. And the other thing is, you should always have the paper with you unless you are told that you are going to be off, that you need to be off book. The safety is nice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Obviously, if it's like 3 lines, I know you guys can do that, so you probably don't need the paper. But if it's, you know, a full scene, I always say carry the paper with you,
Okay.
just in case. It helps with the nerves sometimes, you know? You have that safety blanket there.
Sweet tips and advice.
Yeah.
Okay, and I know you do casting for everything. Most actors, new actors, will probably start off in commercial world. So just a little tip or advice. What are like 5 to 10 tips you could give actors and the newbies of getting into the commercial world, and what is expected?
I would say with commercials, just make sure that you're on the websites like Actors Access, LA Casting, Casting Frontier. It's tip number 1. Get on those sites and submit. I think tip number 2 is with commercials, a lot of times what we're really looking for is your personality. So just remember, always come in there with a good personality, happy, be pleasant, you know what I mean? I think number 3, commercials sometimes with commercials, we want really big reactions and medium reactions, and we make you guys have about 20 emotions in 30 seconds. I would say to any actor who's gonna do commercial auditions, sometimes it'll have lines, sometimes it won't. You don't know. Like the lady who is dancing in the Yo Play commercial because her daughter had like packed her lunch. Trust me, they asked her to dance for a couple of seconds.
Right.
And it was embarrassing, but you have to get over it. So I would tell people practice like laughing out loud in the mirror for like 10 seconds and have it be natural and like have different levels where it's over the top, medium, regular. I think it's good to practice having like all those reactions because sometimes I literally tell people, okay, laugh out loud, keep laughing out loud, louder, louder, okay, now medium laughter, now stop, just a big smile. Okay,
Right.
so I think you have to practice doing that and you're gonna feel silly, but
It works.
it
just
works. Sometimes with commercials, you may have to audition with another actor or a kid if you're an adult. I think even if the kid is being uncooperative or the other adult is like bringing you down, worry about you and don't let that affect your audition.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think just in general, and if we do questions like what's your favorite color, we're not just looking for you guys to say pink. We want you to say pink because I'll give you blue because that's actually a better one. So if I ask you what's your favorite color and you say blue, well, you say my favorite color is blue because I love the bright blue sky that I see every day. It makes me feel calm, and I wear blue every other day. You need to come up with like more of an answer.
Blue's my lucky color.
Yeah.
And today I'm wearing,
Yeah.
something like an improv or I feel like I always and just picking it up along as I go because I go off a lot of commercials.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you about my own today. I went to a callback today right down the street in the SAG building, and it's so crazy how you have to be prepared to do, as you said, to just perform.
Yeah.
So got in there, it's probably like 5 people, probably the director, 5 producers. First thing I like to do, make eye contact with everyone. Hey, how you guys doing? Make eye contact. Sometimes they might be in their phones going down, but I make sure they know I'm there. Then they pick up your paper. You can tell them they're checking you out, and then they have the screen right there. The casting director's on the camera, and it started off with like lifting weights. So they had dumbbells, and it was like if a trainer was training you, you're lifting, curl 5 biceps, do 5 overheads, do 5 triceps.
Oh wow.
And while facing out, I know sometimes actors could lose focus, but when you're in that mode, I'm locked in, and my face I have my workout face that I use, but I practice it in the mirror, so I have my workout face with focus, determined, because that's what I feel like. In commercials, you want to be happy, but also they probably will want to see a determined look. If I'm shooting a commercial, lifting weights, they want to see determined. So I had that. Then I had to put the weights down.
Yeah.
They bring a bike in the middle of the room, and it's an electric bike. Then the director gives the instructions. Start on the side, you walk up to the bike, you admire the bike, you put the helmet on, sit on it, unplug it, then I'm gonna say, hey, how are you? Then you wave to the camera and say, how you doing? So that's all of this is what you have to remember before I go in. So alright, I had the first one locked in. Second one, I jump on the bike, I rub the bike, I make the bike feel real, I experience it, that I love this bike because maybe they're advertising this bike. I really don't even know at this point.
You have to make it up.
So I'm like enjoying this bike, rubbing it, imagine. Then I jump on, unplug, put my helmet on, but something simple as not putting the helmet on could be bad for you.
Yeah.
Safety is always precaution, like the best thing in commercials. So put your helmet on, and then you wave and you do it. And then he said, I want more personality in my hello. So I did it all over again. Hey, how you doing, my man? Like my man is like my thing.
Yeah, it's your thing.
So I did that. Then bike's put away now. Next scene, table. I'm walking in with a disc to put it on a turntable.
Oh.
sit on a turntable, then enjoy the music. My friend next to me is gonna look over and say, "Hey, what's this song?" And then I just was like, "Oh, I just remember Prince is out." That's like Prince, Purple Rain, you know. And you have to improv it at that spot. But there's so many different layers you have to do as a commercial actor, and to even just in callbacks, you see it time and time again that you have so much layers that you have to remember, bring out, and it's honestly it's only practice, and you're gonna, as my podcast is 1,000 failures, you're gonna fail a lot of times, but each time I didn't get it, I became more calm and I was in different scenarios, and I didn't quit on the first one, so now I'm on probably commercial audition number 500 since I moved to LA, and I've seen what they could ask for you, how calm I get, and if this is my progression in 2 years, I can't wait to see what it is. Even if I didn't get this one today, I know by next year I would have added this to my repertoire of, you know, add more personality to that high. So that was long, but...
It was long, but I would say then the other tip is, well, this brings me to some other tips, is that when you... Sorry, I'm like... So, listen, we're always going to give you like an explanation of what to do, and a lot of times people just like zone out and don't listen. Please listen to the group explains when you're in commercials, because that's when we tell you what to do. And what you're saying about the bike and stuff, I'm sure they explained it to you guys in a group. You really have to stay focused and listen, because sometimes I don't mind repeating it again, but I do the group explains just so that way you guys know, because with commercials, when you do the first calls, you have to see like so many people in a day. They expect you to see a lot of people, and I can only spend like 2 minutes, maybe 3 with a person, 5 at the most. And I do the group explain so that way when you come in, we know exactly what we're doing. So it's really important to pay attention to those. The other thing is, if I make sure with commercials, wherever we tell you to look, stay on that spot, okay? And for me, sometimes when you're doing the improv, I might chime in during what you're doing. Don't let it break your concentration and go, what? No, keep going. Like if I'm like, okay, laugh out loud, I might go louder, I might stop you in the middle and be like, okay, keep laughing, but then say, awesome. Well, don't stop laughing. After I'm done telling you what to do, say what I'm asking the camera. I think what's important with commercials is that if you don't remember something, ask. Because I know it can be overwhelming sometimes with the group explain, and I think that's something you just have to get comfortable with. But just make sure when you're in that room and you're doing those actions, you really listen carefully to what the casting director is asking you to do as you're going through the audition that she's recording. And if she interrupts you, or he, in the middle of what you're doing, keep doing what you're doing and just listen to what you have to do after. So keep laughing while I say to you, do this thing next. You know, I think with commercials, and you can always ask, like, what emotion are you looking for? You want me to lift weights? Do you want me to be happy? Do you want me to be focused? It's okay to ask what they're looking for. And in general, callbacks with commercials, if they're gonna mix and match you, you'll probably be there for a good hour and a half, sometimes like 2 hours. If they're not, it'll probably be like 20 minutes or so. And don't be intimidated, because at commercials, there's definitely gonna be the director, all of the producers are gonna be there. Don't let the clients, don't let that intimidate you. Just walk in there with a good attitude and be like, hi, how are you? Hope you're having a good day.
Definitely make a connection with them, because what I remembered one Lexus commercial I booked. I remembered when I booked it, I just made a connection in the room, made a joke with the directors, they joked around, and after when we got on set, it was just like, oh, we saw you were just cool. You were like this cool guy, you weren't like, you know, too scared or anything, and that was it, and it was good. So
Yeah, see,
Thank you for your tips.
I said to you, personality goes a long way, and they remember that.
Yeah.
And you can see with commercial directors, they tend to be loyal to the people they like. Like with the kids I've booked, I've seen a lot of my directors book the same kid like multiple times because they know they're easy to work with, and the adults too.
All right. So,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. And just on the personal side, Kara Sullivan, casting. I know you're working on producing your own projects. Is that the next stage in your life? Yeah.
So I would say I'm not quite producing my own projects. It's more like two people that I know really well. One is Richard Brooks, who's on my web series, The Rich and the Ruthless. Well, let me start. Sorry, I'm gonna go back. The producing gigs fell into my lap.
Why? Because everyone knows you as the film lady.
I think because I am always like so well. People know that even though it's sessions sometimes, there's some days where I seem a little like, oh my god, there's too much going on. In general, I'm always really well organized, and as a casting director, I've made it so that way I kind of know a little bit about the SAG agreements and have educated myself a little bit more on call sheets. As long as you give me the template, I can do it. I know what they look like. I've been on set at, with some of my projects and even helped with them budget for food and just been there, so I've observed. So the first project that I did is called Smile. It's in post right now, and we're really looking forward to being at the festivals and doing its rounds for sure. That was with Blue Kimball. So he was the director, and so was Frank Atkinson. It was like a joint director thing. So, they wanted to do this. I had recommended a couple producers. It just turned out that basically they felt more comfortable with me and knew that I could also handle the casting as well for some of the roles. And I said, look, okay, I'm willing to throw in the towel and try my hand at producing. This was my first producing gig.
Hey.
And I did really well. And for that shoot, I was also the AD. I sent out the call sheets, little bit of the line producer, did the craft services.
You did about everything.
I did pretty much everything except for script notes and stuff that was set, more set oriented scripty things and all of that. But all the organization was on me, and they were really happy with the results.
Wow,
including
nice.
helping them. Part of a producer's responsibility is also if you're gonna go SAG, it's my job to help you get in all the paperwork for a SAG, which was a whole other adventure. When they asked me, I was like, okay, I'm gonna give it a try. I feel like I have enough knowledge right now to do it. I have friends that are producers that I can turn to if I need advice. But we did a 2-day shoot. It went really well. I was it might have been more than 2 days, 3 or 4 days. I rocked it. They were super happy with the results. And then after that, Richard Brooks, who is the series regular on Rich and the Ruthless, I heard through our director that he was going to direct his own short. And she said, you should reach out. He probably needs some help. Well, I reached out. And she said, well, I have the casting under control. But I said, how about I help you produce? Because honestly, he was going to do everything by himself. He had already signed up for the SAG paperwork, but I did it again. Organized the shoot, helped get us the makeup people, helped get us the location, and again, it was really successful, and we had to do a pickup day, last week, and I got that organized and made sure it happened, and again, that's in post, so we'll see what happens with that. It's called anticipation. So I don't know, producing, like, this may be a new path
Yeah.
for me in entertainment, just because I feel like I'm all producing and being casting director, really, both of those are about,
Symbiotic.
yeah, it's, both of those, especially if you're running your own business with casting, you have to be organized, and I'm very organized, and I'm a person who's going to always, like, with producing sometimes, you have to figure out alternate solutions if, like, Richard's an actor. Well, what are we gonna do if he's shooting on the 12th? Well, then it's my job to coordinate with everybody to find a different day. And I think casting, it's almost the same thing. I have to find sometimes solutions. What do I do if I can't find an actor that speaks Urdu?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I gotta go find another source. So, we'll see. I've produced 2 shorts now as an associate producer. You know, they weren't my projects, they came to me. And maybe in my future there's producing features. I know that with Richard, he has more projects on tap, and so does Blue. So, look out for Smile with Blue Kimball and Frank Atkinson. They both directed. It turned out really well. I'm really proud of that project. And we had actors on that project, you know. I brought in actors that I'd worked with before. It was great. It was a great experience, and everybody was great. And the anticipation, you know, it was awesome. Our makeup and hair team was like the R&R family.
Yeah.
Rich and Ruth's family, and I feel like there's, you know,
So now you see there's a next
more
side of
to
you.
come. Yeah, it's funny. I didn't think I could produce.
But I feel like, and just to kind of wrap this up quick, but I feel, especially in this industry, so much is related, and it has a lot to do with your contacts and your knowledge of the industry. But
Yeah.
with all of us, I feel we have the ability to jump out of what we normally do and step into a new world. And most people think that they need a professional, like, oh, my friend's a producer, I want to reach out to them. But similar to me, one of my friends was reaching out. She was direct. She wanted to get a project made, basketball project made with an NBA player.
Mm-hmm.
And I was looking around. I was like, all right, let's see. Maybe I know sports.
Yeah.
I know I'm creative, and I directed my first project, and it was amazing. It came out really, really good. And now, if I see anything into the sports world and then filming, I could easily do it. But had you asked me prior to moving to Los Angeles, I'd probably be like, no, I know I directed, you know. So I congratulate you for like just stepping out of your realm and just doing something that you didn't think that you could do. But when we all push ourselves to that limit, 100% we could get it done. And even if we make a mistake or failure or whatever, we're gonna learn along the way, and we're gonna grow. And I'm sure from producing, you're gonna one day do your own big production someday. You just know it's gonna happen. So keep doing it, keep jumping on. And
yeah, somebody pushed me, actually. I have to thank
shout out to,
I can't remember the last name. But anyways, the supporting actor on Fences, McKelty.
What?
I was at a Oscar party last year.
What?
And a big thank you to him, because I was like, I don't know, I met him and he was so nice. And I said, and if I mispronounced your name, I'm so sorry.
We're just excited, that's all.
Anyways, I introduced myself and told him a little bit about myself, and I said, I don't know, somebody wants me to produce, and he said, look, you need to just go for it and do it. And that helped kind of seal the deal for me doing the producing. So thank you so much. I really, those words of wisdom last year at that Oscar party really. Just
back, and this might just tie into it, how did you get to go to the Oscar party?
How? One of my directors got an invite, and so that's how I ended up there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And it's just so crazy how everything ties in together.
Yeah.
And to start with, how did you meet that director, you know? And this universe is just so crazy, and this acting world, you just keep saying yes.
Yeah, you have to keep saying yes. He said, you have to do it. You have to try. He said, the universe presented this opportunity to you for a reason, and you seem like a very smart young lady, and know you can do it.
Yes, Kara. All right. Well, I just have a couple, maybe, false answers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, let's go. All right. Does casting get the final pick? True or false?
I think False.
Okay. Would an actor lose a job if he went in with the sides? True or false? Okay. Do you know of any actors who have booked a job based on the amount of followers they have on Instagram? Is there an actor, so I should pose this question as true or false. Can an actor win a job based on the amount of followers that he has on Instagram?
Oh, that's a hard one. Sometimes, yes, but I think at the end of the day, the talent's gonna win out. And if they do that, then they're gonna call in a whole bunch of people off of Instagram, not just that one person. Like if that's a factor, then the casting director is gonna call in Instagram talent and YouTube talent. So the talent, I feel like the talent always wins out in the end.
All right. If I don't have anything on my resume, would I be able to get called in for an audition? True or false?
True.
Okay. If I don't
You
have...
mean, well, I would say to you, you probably, I would say most likely, if you don't have anything, you did stuff in high school. You probably have high school theater. You have some training. Put something on there.
Okay.
But I would say you can get called in with nothing.
All right. And last but not least, most actors don't have a reel. Can I get called in if I don't have a reel? True or false?
True.
And this is just a side note one. What about if I put a self-submit tape that I've done before? Is that as good as a no reel? True or false?
As good as no, true. I think it's as good as long as the quality is good.
Okay, so we can put in that then.
You can put in that. It
All
should
right,
look
actors, take a break.
professional. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's fine.
All right, awesome. And just to wrap it up, this is 1,000 Failures with Kara Sullivan. And along our journeys as well, it's called Becoming an Actor. We're going to have a lot of failures and a lot of bad auditions, but what advice you'd give actors on this journey with me through the auditioning process and the a lot of no's that we get?
Yeah.
What advice you'd give?
I would tell you, remember that as casting directors, we all went through similarly what you guys went through too. When we got started, no matter who the casting director is, we got no's. We did. Because casting directing isn't something you just go to school for. It's something you decide to do. And in order for us to get jobs, we had to go out there and put ourselves out there, and you get no's. And you know what I mean? Or we see a job posting and you don't get it. My advice to you is that you just have to this business and entertainment, you have to be strong and you gotta be tough and you can't let every no get you down. And if you love it and you're passionate about it, you just have to keep on going. And once acting becomes something that becomes unpleasant for you and it's a negative thing, you gotta take a break and come back to it when you love it.
Nice.
You just gotta keep on trucking. If you love it, no matter how many no's you get, you just keep on going because you have to know that eventually you're gonna get the yes. We all go through it. It's the way the business is. Producers, directors, we all experience the same thing.
Nice. Well said. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Sweet sauce.
I always feel like, sometimes